Picture this, you've just spent your entire weekend and half your paycheck modifying your bike to look absolutely incredible. Chrome everywhere, aggressive styling, and enough attitude to make other riders do double takes at every red light. You fire up for that epic 500-mile road trip you've been planning, and within the first hour, you're wondering if medieval torture devices were actually more comfortable than your current riding position. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Today we're diving into the 10 most popular motorcycle modifications that look amazing in photos but will have you begging for mercy on anything longer than a trip to the grocery store. I'm your host, and if you're planning any long-distance adventures on two wheels, you'll want to stick around for this one. Let's kick things off with one of the most common track-inspired modifications that sounds great on paper but becomes a nightmare on the highway. Aggressive rear set foot pegs are designed to put you in the quintessential sports bike position, knees tucked up, weight forward, ready to drag knee through the next corner. The problem is, what works perfectly for a 20-minute track session turns into absolute torture during a cross-country journey. When your knees are jammed up near your chest for hours on end, blood circulation becomes about as effective as a chocolate teapot. Your legs start going numb, your hip flexors tighten up like piano wire, and by the time you reach your first gas stop, you're walking around like you've been riding a horse for 3 days straight. The aggressive positioning also forces more weight onto your wrists and hands, creating a domino effect of discomfort that we'll explore more as we continue. Racing rear sets look the business, but unless you're actually racing, your comfort will take a serious beating. Speaking of weight on your wrists, let's talk about clip-on handlebars, the natural companion to those aggressive rear sets we just discussed. Clip-ons are mounted directly to the fork tubes, positioning your hands lower and further forward than standard handlebars. They're essential for serious track work, providing precise steering input and that aerodynamic tuck that shaves seconds off lap times. But here's where the comfort equation falls away completely. Those same clip-ons that give you razor-sharp handling precision also create what riders lovingly call monkey butt syndrome. That delightful combination of numb hands, aching wrists, and a sore lower back that develops after extended periods hunched over your tank. The human body simply wasn't designed to maintain that forward-leaning position for hours at a stretch. Your spine curves unnaturally, your shoulders bunch up towards your ears, and your neck cranes forward at an angle that would make a chiropractor weep. What starts as mild discomfort during the first hour evolves into genuine pain by hour 3, and by the end of a full day's ride, you'll be seriously questioning your life choices. Quick break. If you're enjoying this, hit that like and subscribe button because it's about to get even more interesting. Let's keep going. Now let's examine a modification that affects riders at the opposite end of the height spectrum, lowered suspension. This mod is incredibly popular among riders who want to get both feet flat on the ground at stops, or those chasing that slam Street Fighter aesthetic that looks absolutely killer in parking lot photo shoots. Lowering your bike might solve the confidence issue of being able to touch the ground, but it creates a whole host of new problems when the miles start adding up. First, you've fundamentally altered your bike's geometry, which affects everything from cornering clearance to stability at highway speeds. But more importantly for our discussion, you've reduced your suspension travel, which means every bump, crack, and imperfection on the road gets transmitted directly to your spine with the subtlety of a jackhammer. Your suspension is designed to absorb road irregularities and provide a smooth ride. When you cut that travel short, you're essentially turning your motorcycle into a rigid frame machine that treats every pothole like a personal insult. Long rides become an endurance test where you're constantly braced for the next impact, leading to muscle fatigue and tension that builds throughout the day. Let's move to what might be the most critical comfort component on any motorcycle: the seat. The custom scene has embraced minimalist, rigid seats with the enthusiasm of a religious conversion. These ultra-thin, often leather-wrapped boards look fantastic and give your bike that clean, vintage-inspired aesthetic that photographs beautifully for social media. Unfortunately, your posterior doesn't care how many likes your bike gets on Instagram. These seats, often no thicker than a smartphone, provide about as much cushioning as sitting on a park bench for 8 hours straight. The human tailbone and surrounding soft tissue weren't designed for prolonged contact with unyielding surfaces, and no amount of breaking in will change basic anatomy. What's particularly insidious about minimal seats is how they affect your entire riding posture. Without proper support, you constantly shift and adjust trying to find a comfortable position that simply doesn't exist. This constant movement and the inability to settle into a stable, relaxed position creates a cascade of fatigue that affects every aspect of your riding experience. The connection between exhaust systems and riding comfort might not be immediately obvious, but stick with me on this one. Straight-through exhaust systems, also known as straight pipes, are incredibly popular for their aggressive sound and weight savings. There's something undeniably appealing about that raw, unfiltered note of your engine without any baffles or restrictions dampening the symphony. However, what sounds like music to your ears in a garage becomes a different story during extended highway cruising. Constant exposure to a loud exhaust note creates what's known as auditory fatigue, a genuine physiological condition where your brain becomes overwhelmed processing continuous loud sounds. This leads to increased stress levels, difficulty concentrating, and general exhaustion that has nothing to do with physical riding position. The problem becomes even more pronounced when you factor in wind noise, traffic sounds, and the need to communicate with passengers or other riders via intercom systems. That sweet exhaust note you love during short rides becomes an oppressive wall of sound that makes long-distance touring genuinely unpleasant. Many riders don't realize how much mental energy they're expending just processing all that noise until they switch back to a properly baffled system. Extended swing arms are another modification that looks absolutely stunning and serves a specific performance purpose, primarily in drag racing applications where they help control wheelies and improve straight line stability. The stretched out proportions give bikes an undeniably aggressive, purposeful appearance that turns heads wherever you park. The comfort issues with extended swing arms are subtle but significant for long distance riding. The altered geometry affects weight distribution and changes how the bike responds to steering inputs. More importantly, the extended wheelbase often requires adjustments to riding position to maintain proper control, which can throw off the ergonomic balance you've grown accustomed to. Additionally, the changed weight distribution affects how the suspension works, particularly the rear shock's ability to maintain traction and compliance over varying road surfaces. While these changes might be imperceptible during short rides or straight-line acceleration runs, they become increasingly noticeable during long tours where you're dealing with everything from smooth highways to twisty mountain passes. The bike doesn't simply flow through varied terrain with the same effortless quality as its stock configuration. Windscreen modifications present an interesting paradox in the world of motorcycle comfort. You'd think that bigger is always better when it comes to wind protection, but the reality is far more nuanced. Oversized touring screens, or conversely tiny racing-style windscreens, both create their own unique comfort problems during extended rides. Oversized windscreens often create turbulent air pockets that buffet your helmet constantly. Instead of smooth, clean airflow, you get a churning mess of air that makes your head feel like it's in a washing machine on the spin cycle. This constant buffeting leads to neck fatigue and can actually create more wind noise than riding with no windscreen at all. On the flip side, those minimal racing style screens might look incredibly aggressive and reduce weight, but they offer virtually no wind protection. During long highway stints, you're essentially riding in a constant gale that exhausts you physically and mentally. The constant pressure against your body and helmet creates fatigue that builds steadily throughout the day, making what should be an enjoyable ride feel like a battle against the elements. Tank grips are a popular modification that seems to make perfect sense. Better connection with your motorcycle, improved control, and reduced strain on your arms by allowing you to grip with your knees. Racing applications have proven their effectiveness, and the aggressive textured appearance adds to that track-inspired aesthetic many riders crave. However, what works brilliantly for intense 20-minute track sessions becomes problematic during day-long tours. Racing tank grips are designed to be aggressively textured, providing maximum grip even through leather race suits. When you're riding regular riding gear for extended periods, these same grips can create pressure points and hotspots against your legs. The constant contact and pressure against your inner thighs and knees during long rides can lead to chafing and soreness that builds throughout the day. Additionally, the rigid positioning encouraged by aggressive tank grips can actually reduce your ability to move and adjust your position naturally, leading to increased fatigue in your core muscles and lower back. Minor modifications might seem like a minor consideration in the grand scheme of motorcycle comfort, but their impact on long-distance riding is more significant than most riders realize. Tiny racing mirrors or bar-end mirrors positioned for maximum aerodynamic efficiency often sacrifice visibility for aesthetics. The problem isn't just reduced visibility, though that's certainly a safety concern, but the constant strain of trying to gather information from inadequate mirrors. When you can't easily see what's happening behind you, you unconsciously tense up and constantly adjust your position trying to get a better view. This subtle but persistent tension builds throughout long rides, contributing to neck and shoulder fatigue. Moreover, mirrors positioned purely for looks rather than ergonomics often require you to adjust your natural riding position to use them effectively. Instead of a quick glance providing you all the information you need, you find yourself constantly shifting and craning to see properly, adding unnecessary physical stress to an already demanding riding position. Our final modification brings us full circle to one of the most fundamental aspects of riding comfort: how your motorcycle deals with road imperfections. Racing suspension setups are marvels of engineering, providing incredible precision and control during high-performance riding situations. They're designed to keep your tires in perfect contact with smooth racetracks where every surface imperfection is measured in fractions of inches. Public roads, however, are a completely different animal. They're full of expansion joints, surface irregularities, patches, and imperfections that racing suspension transmits directly to the rider with uncompromising efficiency. What provides incredible feedback and control on a smooth track becomes a constant assault on your body during real-world riding. The hyper-stiff setup that allows racers to push the limits of cornering performance becomes a liability when you're trying to cover serious miles in comfort. Every road imperfection gets transmitted through the bike and into your body, creating a constant state of tension as you brace for the next impact. By the end of a long day, you feel like you've been in a boxing match with the highway itself. Now remember, the best motorcycle modification is the one that enhances your actual riding experience, not just your bike's appearance in photos. Your future self, somewhere around hour 6 of that epic road trip, will thank you for prioritizing comfort over pure aesthetics. That's our look on 10 popular modifications that can seriously compromise long-distance riding comfort. What modifications have you tried that looked great but felt terrible? Drop your experiences in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more practical motorcycle content. Until next time, keep the rubber side down and the comfort level up.